Somewhere in the empire, there was a very luxurious mansion, and somewhere in the mansion, there was a room. The cries of someone who was crying began to be heard from inside one of the rooms. The hallway was decorated with candles. Several minutes passed, and the cries did not cease. The hallway was empty, and the ceiling was adorned with a beautiful crystal lamp. This was the estate of the Mogg family, and this had happened approximately 3 years ago. The attention of the maids who were doing household chores focused on the room from which the cries were coming. One of the maids placed her hands on her chest and, with a sad expression, told her friends that Camus Mogg had been crying and refusing to eat for the past few days. The other maid began to observe her friend and with a curious gaze asked if Camus Mogg was blaming herself for what had happened. A few days ago, in the battle against the barbarians, many of the soldiers were wounded, some had their heads bandaged and others had broken arms. The maid explained to her friend that it was normal for Camus Mogg to feel guilty since while they were trying to save Camus from the barbarians, many people had been killed and wounded. The eyes of the maid who was holding the plate filled with sadness. She turned towards Camus Mogg's room and decided to reveal the reason why Camus Mogg was so heartbroken. Upon hearing this, the other maids became curious. She began to imagine Vikir, and with tears in her eyes, revealed that Camus Mogg was heartbroken over the death of Vikir Baskerville. With a sincere expression, the maid who was holding the plate mentioned that the pain she must be going through must be very painful since Vikir was the person she loved the most. Upon hearing this sad story, the other maid put her hands over her face and began to cry. Seeing this, her friend approached, extended her hand and tried to console her. While the two maids were crying, the one holding the plate approached the door of Camus Mogg's room and asked her to stop thinking about the matter and cheer up. Just then, someone wearing leather boots began walking down the hallway. They used their power and bubbles of water appeared around the maids' heads. Hearing this, their eyes widened with surprise and confusion. Not knowing what was happening, little by little, they began to run out of air, and their bodies started to float. The maids panicked, thinking they were going to drown. The white-haired man began to walk towards them. It was Camus Mogg's uncle. He started staring intently at the maids, and his eyes filled with fury upon seeing that the maids were gossiping about Camus Mogg's personal life when the virtue of the maids was to be discreet. He exploded with rage upon realizing that they were too absorbed in gossiping about Camus Mogg's life, using concern for her as an excuse. He clenched his fist tightly, making the water bubbles grow larger. The maids couldn't help but feel fear upon hearing Adolf's voice. Just before they could drown, Adolf deactivated the spell, causing the water bubbles to explode. Adolf's eyes began to shine with rage. He clenched his teeth tightly, and with a murderous expression, he warned the maids that if they said anything bad about Camus Mogg again, he would personally cut out their tongues. They panicked, turned their backs on Adolf, and ran out of the place, apologizing and promising never to do it again. Adolf approached the door of Camus Mogg's room and began to gaze at the floor in silence. Then he raised his head, started observing the door, and with a worried expression announced his arrival. Then he grabbed the doorknob and slowly opened the door. Camus Mogg's room was dark, and the only light came from the window. Adolf entered the room, and his attention was fixed on the bed. Camus Mogg, who was inside the sheets, began to cry. Adolf sat on the bed, placed his hand on the sheets, and with a worried expression explained that he had heard that she hadn't even eaten in days, revealing that he and her mother were very worried. The wind began to enter the room through the window, making the curtains move. Camus Mogg asked if he meant that she should eat in order to continue living for herself. She began to remember when she was with Vikir in the forest. A barbarian who was riding a wolf grabbed her on his shoulders and ran away. Barboy clenched his teeth, and his eyes widened with fury. Then she began to recall the fun moments she had spent with Vikir. She placed her hand on his shoulder and, with a joyful expression, started talking with him. When remembering these memories, she felt guilty because if she hadn't been stupid, the barbarians wouldn't have caught her, and if she had stopped Vikir so that he wouldn't fight alone against that monster, none of this would have happened. She clenched her teeth tightly, and her eyes filled with tears since now, because of her, Vikia and Rose were dead. She took off the sheets, grabbed her arm tightly, and with a sad and guilt-ridden expression, began to cry even more, unable to hold back the tears, thinking that it was all her fault. Adolf turned towards her and his attention fixed on her, and upon seeing her expression, his eyes began to shine with sadness. Without hesitating for a second, he gave Camus Morgue a hug. And while the moonlight was illuminating, he asked her not to give up. He hugged her tightly to try to console her, closed his eyes, and with a sincere tone explained that the value of their lives had now been added to hers, so now her life had become even more valuable. He explained that it was the duty of the living to live and continue the lives of the dead. Upon hearing this, Camus Morgue's eyes widened in surprise. With a curious expression, she asked if she should live instead of them. Adolf opened his eyes and explained that Rose and Vikia would be very upset if they saw Camus Morgue's eyes filled with emotion. And a light of hope began to shine in her eyes. Without wasting another second, she got out of bed and, with a smile, opened one of the drawers, believing there was still a way. Seeing her behavior, Adolf's eyes widened in surprise and confusion. She took out a sheet with a magic circle and, using a pen, began to draw a triangle, explaining that if the thermodynamic function of the person was the same, then it was possible. The ground was full of sheets. She crouched down and began to write, mentioning that magic consisted of calculating that value. Then if she changed the order and the formulas a little, she assumed she could obtain a different result. Adolf stood up, approached her, and with a confused expression asked what she was doing. Camus Morgue began to observe the sheets, and a light of hope appeared in her eyes. With a smile, she thought that if she could get closer to the dimension of negative energy, then she could bring the entropy from that dimension to later replace the portion of the positive energy dimension, and the rest through an equivalent exchange. Then she put her hands on top of her head and started going crazy. She couldn't think properly since she had no energy. Adolf's attention fixed on her, making his jaw drop. While the moon was illuminating the room, she told her uncle that she needed food. Adolf prepared a banquet for her. The table was full of delicious dishes, from meat to desserts. They sat at the table. At one end was Camus Morgue and at the other a red-haired woman, and next to her sat Adolf. With a kind smile, Camus Morgue mentioned that she had heard that she was very worried since she had not been eating. She was the mother of Camus Morgue, the matriarch of the Morgue family, called Rispani Morgue. She rested her hands on top of the table and with a serious expression began to observe her daughter in silence, her eyes filled with worry, explaining that several days had passed since her daughter had held a spoon, so it was normal for her to be worried about her. Camus Morgue interrupted her mother and with a cheerful expression promised not to make her worry anymore, but in return asked her to listen to her request. Rispani became curious and asked what requests she had. Camus Morgue asked her mother to please allow her to mobilize the Morgue family army to search the forest. Rispani remained calm, began to observe Camus Morgue, and became somewhat confused. Adolf's eyes widened with concern. He extended his hand and with a furious gaze asked if Camus Morgue did not know how dangerous that place was. With a serious tone, Rispani gave her daughter permission to mobilize the army in exchange for her not skipping any meals. Upon hearing this, Adolf turned towards her and his eyes widened in surprise and confusion, leaving him in shock. With a worried expression, he asked his sister to think it through carefully. But just before he could finish the sentence, Rispani interrupted him and argued that Camus still had something she could do, which meant that she was not going to give up easily. Camus Morgue's eyes began to shine with seriousness. She started observing her mother in silence. Rispani interlaced her hands and with a serious gaze made it clear that she had no other option but to let Camus surrender by her own will. Camus Morgue prepared to eat a piece of meat and with a cheerful smile asked if this was a promise. Seeing that she was going to eat, Adolf's eyes widened with joy, and he couldn't help but smile. Meanwhile, on the other side, Rispani, who had her hands interlaced, began to observe Camus in silence. Upon tasting the food, Camu's eyes widened in disgust. He put her hands over her mouth and started feeling sick to her stomach. Not long after, she fell to the ground and began vomiting. Adolf stood up and panicked since he knew that she couldn't eat the food as too much time had passed since she last ate. He gave the order to the maids to take away the dishes and prepare suitable food for the sick. The maids brought new plates of food, but just then, Camus extended her hand and refused to eat food for the sick. Seeing this, the eyes of the maids widened in surprise. After vomiting, Camus Morgue sat back in the chair, and while her eyes were shining with determination, she clenched her teeth tightly and with a serious expression swore to eat everything. Without losing another second, she grabbed a piece of bread and some meat and, with tears in her eyes, took a bite. And despite not being able to eat, she was willing to do it for Vikir. She began to imagine a boy holding the sword from behind. She knew that she would not have lost Vikir if she had not been kidnapped by the barbarians, and she was sure that he would not have lost if she had stopped him from fighting the huge spider alone. Adolf's eyes widened in surprise. He was in shock while on the other side, Camus' mother intertwined her fingers and closed her eyes. After eating, with tears in her eyes, she wiped her mouth with her hand. All that karma came from her, and death was something that had been unfairly granted to Vikir. But she was determined to restore that injustice. She grabbed a chicken thigh with her hand and prepared to eat, asking Vikir to wait. News spread throughout the Morgue family that the wise matriarch, who was sunk in despair, had begun to move again. However, no one expected her to move in that way. Somewhere in the city, under the moonlight, was the Hall of Darkness of the Morgue family. Inside the hall was a man with red eyes sitting on a throne. His eyes were shining with hatred. He was the head sorcerer of the Morgue family, representative of the Hall of Darkness. Called Snake Morgue, someone wearing a hood entered the hall. It was the wise matriarch. Snake's attention fixed on her and he asked what brought the wise patriarch of the Hall of Light here. A smile spread across Camus Morgue's face as she did not expect Snake to recognize her. Camus Morgue took off the hood. She had dark circles under her eyes and her eyes were shining with malice. With a smile she revealed that she wanted to defect from the Hall of Light and enter the Hall of Darkness. Snake's eyes widened in surprise. He began to observe Camus Morgue in silence, not knowing what was happening. Snake and Adolf were brothers. The Hall of Light was the visible symbol of the Morgue family, while the Hall of Darkness was its shadow, where research and experiments on black witchcraft were carried out, far from the eyes of the people. Snake became curious and with a serious tone assumed that she knew what it meant to join the Hall of Darkness. Camus Morgue extended her hands and made it clear that she was prepared to live her life hiding in the shadows and abandon her mother, her uncle, and her rights as wise matriarch. With a calm gaze, Snake extended his hand and said that he had heard that she had mobilized the army to search the forest, asking if she was planning to revive Vikir with black magic. Camus Morgue's eyes were filled with despair. With a smile, she admitted it, revealing that she was going to use the perfect resurrection spell. Upon hearing this, Snake's eyes widened in surprise. He began staring at her and realized that this spell was ancient black magic capable of completely reviving the dead. He asked if she was going to use foreign magic, which was strictly forbidden within the Morgue family in the Empire. He started to gaze toward the ground, extended his hand to one side, and denied her entry to the Hall of Darkness, asking her to leave. Camus Morgue began to observe her uncle in silence, realizing that there was nothing he could do. Her eyes began to shine with malice when she extended her hand and with a wicked smile summoned a powerful spirit, revealing that she had no choice but to learn it herself. Snake's eyes widened in fear, leaving him in shock. He could not believe that she was controlling that spirit. He couldn't help but feel terror, and his gaze fixed on the spirit. Realizing that she had learned black magic by herself, something impossible. But if that were the case, it would not be an exaggeration to say that she had reached a new level by herself. He began to imagine Camus Morgue's mother, realizing that she had a talent similar to hers, a talent that only appeared once every 100 years. Snake began to gaze at the ground and after going over the matter several times, decided to accept. He stood up, clenched his fists tightly, and made it clear that if she joined the Hall of Darkness, then his word was absolute, asking if she was ready. Camus Morgue knelt before him. She did not care about losing everything she had. She placed her hand over her chest, started staring intently at Snake, and revealed that she was willing to do whatever it took to save Vikia. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next. To watch this video, please subscribe our channel, like and share the video. Thank you for watching the full video.